Welcome everyone. I'm WriterMaven. If you've been hearing me before, I ranted about things last week. I'm a bit calmer now, but still have a lot to say. So let's get into this. But prior to Monday Night Raw, the WWE put out a t-shirt of Rhea with her orbital bone fracture. And of course, on online discourse was not happy because you're pretty much spoiling Rhea's return, even though everybody knew about it. Then secondly, he was out for 2 weeks and get a new t-shirt, and we waited how long to get a Liv and Dom t-shirt of them since SummerSlam? How long has it been? It's been about 3-4 months, and then Liv herself hasn't had a new shirt since July. But immediately when the Terror Twins returned or got together, they got a shirt, and now Rhea comes back after 2 weeks and gets a t-shirt. I see you, Triple H. This favoritism is for the birds. You can't disguise it. Like a t-shirt 2 weeks when after she gets injured, 2. Meanwhile, I have to wait for my Liv Dom shirt to arrive in December. So that was the online discourse there because it made no sense just to get this t-shirt out. I was like, y'all couldn't even wait till Raw came out to put out the t-shirt. You got to do it before. Now this just makes me question, why did they do Rhea's return on a taped show? But I'll get into that later. Senor says, did you see the Raw Talk Summit? I did. I'll get into that a little bit later because I probably got to review it again. But it was funny that Liv took Carlito's ice and gave it to Dom. That was hilarious. So Monday Night Raw starts with Liv and Big Mommy Cool, Raquel. I was expecting this to end the night, but everything gets shot out of order for a tape show. So it is what it is. I'm kind of glad it was out of the way. Senor, you can probably see this on Peacock. And then some people are posting the whole segment on the X. So you might have to just look around for Liv and Dom fans for the Raw Talk segment. So Liv and Raquel comes out and she's talking about Bianca and Jay and Naomi and Io. And she says she's going to bring out people. And then she brings out Nia, Tiffany, and Candace. I know Candace is involved with Nia and Tiffany, but it seems like that would just be better served with somebody else from Raw. You couldn't get Shayna just for history, but again, I'm going to get into this history thing later, but we needed somebody else than Candace. I like Candace. I actually love Candace, but she just sticks out so much with this. This really gave Liv a really cobbled together team. It's all disjointed. None of them were getting along 2 weeks ago. Now we're going to get along. And Nia's little microphone promo thing made no sense. I don't see you. Like, Nia, what are you even talking about? Nothing made sense. The whole segment was just flat and uninteresting, but the whole Nia thing didn't make sense. They didn't even address Liv and Nia putting aside their differences to fight against Bianca and Team Avenger. But we didn't even get any of that. So Bianca and Jay and Naomi interrupt. On the ride or die for Naomi. I love her. It's going to be so hard for me to watch the WarGames match because I love her so much. But they're looking good. But Bianca brings out Io, woman. Weren't you just a bitch and a half to Bailey on Friday? I know this was recorded last week, but you were just a whole ass bitch to Bailey on Friday. And then here you have no problem with Io. And I don't really want to hear about, well, Bailey's been terrorizing Bianca more. I don't care. Bullshit. Io terrorized Bianca too. Dakota terrorized Bianca. Kari terrorized Bianca too. She should be real skittish of all of them. Why are we all of a sudden all buddy? Even Jade and Naomi should have problems with Io. It was damage control that gave them their big moment at WrestleMania 40. Are we not forgetting what happened just this year? See, this is this problem with history. I'm going to get into this because they got really exposed again with Bloodline. But there should be some sort of tension. You're going to throw away a whole bunch of history just for what I'm going to talk about in a second. There's no tension at all. Nobody's skittish. Nobody's giving that fake smile or anything like that. So they all go to the ring, and then look, I know we already got another person back there. Just bring them out. And then here comes Rhea Ripley. looking like a hot ass mess. Did you see what she was wearing? Undashing Cody Rhodes, she is not. The mask didn't look good. The outfit didn't look good. The whole thing was a look. And I saw pictures and I thought I thought it wasn't looking good then, but now that I see it in 4K, it was just a whole mess. She just didn't look good. And then her happy ass gets up there, yells War Games, and then headbutts Liv. Woman, can you not sell your orbital bone fracture, whatever the hell you got, for more than 2 weeks? Why are we headbutting people? In a mask, no less. You're not selling the injury. Why would you do a headbutt if you have an orbital bone injury? So she wasn't injured? It wasn't that bad? Like, make it make sense. Why are we headbutting people? See, this is the problem with Rhea. She's not selling anything. It just doesn't make sense. You could at least be trying to protect your face a little bit. Undashing Cody Rhodes when he had the orbital bone fracture and he actually had that injury, and he spent a lot of time trying to protect his face. Even though it looked like he had healed, he was still doing the whole face thing. When he got hit, he would sell it and protect his face. But now, here comes Superwoman Rhea. Now, let's get to Rhea and history. Notice this whole team did have issues with each other, even more than the heels. They should have problems. Rhea, my darling, you should have problems with Io being associated with Dakota Kai. Because remember what Dakota Kai did to your team a couple of years ago, the NXT. He took out Tegan Knox and put down your team to just you and Candice, for your War Games match against Shayna. You should have issues with that. But I guess since now that Tegan's not there, we're not going to mention that history of Dakota Kai. But you can bring up history of what Raquel did to you in NXT. So once again, I must ask, why is it that Rhea can bring up history when it's convenient to her and makes her look better? This is a history with Dakota that should be giving some more added layers. Everybody should be skittish of each other. Io shouldn't be happy to work with Bianca. Bianca, Naomi, and Jade shouldn't be happy to work with Io. Rhea shouldn't be happy to work with Io due to her association with Dakota Kai. But are we going to get that? No, because all history goes out the window when Rhea Ripley's involved. It doesn't make sense. Now we can't even bring up anything. So what? We're going to wait till this Friday and maybe Monday for maybe Liv to tease something about some dissension or something like that. And see, now Bayley is off the team. So Bayley could have actually given this team some depth. If you replace Rhea with Bayley, you would have had a more interesting War Games team because they could have actually referenced the history, and Bayley has ties to everybody. He could have had stress with Io, Bianca, and Jade, and then Naomi could have been trying to play peacemaker. But no, you gotta have Rhea in there. No selling shit. And again, I have to ask, why did they wait to put her return on a taped show? They're scared of the reaction. I was seeing someone saying, well, did you hear the pop? I said, this was tape. You can boost up a pop on a taped show. They've done it before. This isn't a case of a live event where people were claiming Dom's boos were piped in. I've been to numerous live events with Dom. His boos aren't piped in. But Rhea, every time I've seen her pops lessen in intensity. She's going to get a pop for a return because she's been gone for 2 weeks and she was injured. You're always going to get that automatic pop. But the question is, can she sustain the intensity of her pop? Notice that she has to be associated with Bianca and Jade and Naomi, who are guaranteed to get pops. Io is guaranteed to get pops. Rhea will get a pop attacking Dom. Rhea will get a pop attacking Liv because people like Liv. Notice how they keep associating her with people that get pops and will get the audience to react. If she was out on her own and not associated with any kind of hot storyline or anything like that, she'd be in a world of hurt. And I'm going to throw down the gauntlet right now. Survivor Series, since they're in Canada, is going to be the real test of her popularity. Because I think as soon as she takes on somebody the audience likes, because this is Canada, they're not going to like it. And you're going to see that downfall start. Same thing with Damian. I'll get to him later too. But notice how they keep associating Rhea with people that are guaranteed to pop. Naomi is a guaranteed pop. Bianca is a guaranteed pop. Jade is a guaranteed pop. Io is a guaranteed pop. Tiffany, Liv, even Raquel and Nia, they're guaranteed with getting audience reactions. You can't trust your mega uber babyface that you're trying to build and being all the preferential treatment to a live return. And that says a lot. Would you save a Cody Rhodes return for a taped show? Would you save a Roman Reigns return for a taped show? Jimmy Uso, not even the most popular against with Jay, he returned at a PLE. Even Sheamus, like some of these other guys that have doing these returns, they have been on a live show. Dakota Kai got a tape delayed return. She was on a live. It wasn't a actual live show, but at least it was tape delayed for that day. So why are you hiding Rhea's return on a taped show? So you can tweak what needed to get tweaked. I do not understand why they did not have Rhea just be out and do what they did last year and just have her do a Randy Orton return at WarGames if they really wanted to do something about it. But maybe this is just indicative of how I think the storyline is going, because now that she's gone, I'm thinking now she's going to get going back. I think she's going to head to the back of the line, because notice how they threw in promos for Dakota and Lyra. They had to do something. Now that Rhea's returned, you have to do something. You couldn't just have her return and then everybody else is back to the bus. And see, it's a good thing that we did have those promos, because if nothing else happened, it was just going to be Rhea and those mostly SmackDown superstars over your Raw women's roster. You see what this is? Liv can even make up a whole team from Raw superstars. This is mostly SmackDown. But anyway, but going into history, notice how, compare this to Bloodline. Notice how they're all talking about, even Jay was saying, hey, I don't even get along with my brother. I don't get along. Sammy's not getting along with Jimmy. We know that you don't get along with Roman Reigns, but you helped Cody Rhodes fight against Roman. You notice how they're using that history, and then Seth says, I won't be joining with Roman, and he has good reasons to. Notice how their storyline ain't perfect, and I don't like how everybody could come out the woodworks and join this bloodline, and that always bugged me because it's always been it gets repetitive. But at least with their history, it's getting acknowledged. We acknowledge what Roman's done to Sammy. We acknowledge what Roman's done to Jay. We're seeing what that Sammy needs. Jay and Jimmy are putting aside their differences to fight with Solo, and there's actual friction. We saw that at Crown Jewel. There's friction there. They're not happy go lucky. They'll get along and then they won't get along. It's not smooth sailing. But with the women's War Games team, it's such a hot ass mess. Everybody's getting along. It shouldn't be like that. It should be all sorts of tension on both teams. Liv and Raquel should not be getting along with Tiffany and Nia, especially Liv with Tiffany, because Tiffany's already expressed interest in Dom. So there should be some argument going between those two already. Where is that going? And that's been brought up in interviews this past weekend with Tiffany, about Tiffany interest in Dom. So that's something that should be brought up. And maybe that's going to be brought up next week. I don't know. But for this particular episode, there should have been a lot more tension, and Liv, Nia, Tiffany, and Candace and Raquel should have gotten at least a little bit more time to set up their teams, because that was unfair for that team to just get overshadowed by Team Avenger with Rhea return. But I digress. Let's get to old stepdaddy, the Demented Demon, and Dom. Notice that Finn is doing divide and conquer between Liv and Dom. Not in the sense that he's trying to break them up like romantically. He's trying to break up their power base. Because notice that he's assuming a leader role when Judgment Day has no leaders. I think Liv gave Finn the reins here because she was dealing with Rhea, but I think that was a setup by Liv. Judgment Day has no leaders. So Finn shouldn't be so easy to want to take a leadership role. You can take point. Judgment Day is all about people taking point when they need to take point. If Finn needs to take point, he would take point. If Liv needs to take point, she would take point. If Dom needs to take point, or JD or Kalito, they would take point. You don't lead, because that's when when you lead, you're putting yourself at the top, and everybody else has to do what you say. Taking point is just guiding people, and you're still on the same level with everybody else. It's a difference. But I think Liv is giving Finn enough rope to hang himself, and then he does this. But he divide and conquers with Liv and Raquel, and then he goes over to Carlito and trying to hype them up and telling them what to do in that match, about softening them up. And I think Dom is getting really tired, and I mentioned this on the X, that he's getting really tired of softening people up for other people. He's getting tired of being the sacrificial lamb for everybody else. Finn, he doesn't want to do that anymore. And notice how he wasn't paying Finn no mind. It was going in one ear and out the other. Watch Dom's facial expressions during that promo during Raw. His face always tells the story of what he's thinking. I have a nice picture, and I really wish I could show some of these pictures, but there's a facial expression where he is really contemplative and he's plotting something. And I have that picture. I think I might do that in my video where I use that pic. But his facial expressions always tell the tale. But the funniest bit with that is when Finn is telling to Dom, "You're the great Dominik Mysterio," and Dom says, "I am." Just no hesitation, no nothing. That was hilarious to me. He's like, "I am the great Dominik Mysterio." Then notice JD. Watch JD. He is not blindly following Finn. JD in these past couple of months have been noticing what Finn is doing. He's been questioning what Finn has been doing, and he's also been the one that's been hyping up Dom and being a support person in the fact when Dom looks like he's about to snap on somebody, he's holding Dom back. Ain't nobody else has. That is JD. JD has really stepped up, and I really like that he is not being a blind follower to Finn. He might end up later on maybe deciding to go along with Finn, but he's being his own person with his own brain and thinking things through. And I really think it's going to be JD that's going to throw Finn under the bus. Finn will be the one, not Finn. JD is going to be the one. JD is going to be a catalyst. He's going to probably be one that's going to lure Finn into this false sense of security and turn on him. That's what I'm really thinking. Because now, once again, it's going to rotate back around to what Liv said. The Judgment Day joined me and Daddy Dom. There was no Finn in that equation when what she said. But people they want to focus on Finn so much, and they want Finn to be this leader and hook up romantically with Liv, and they think this is going to be all for Finn. Nah, I don't think this is all for Finn. This is all for Dom. Dom is going to end up being either the leader of Judgment Day or La Familia, or however they want to split it. He's going to end up being a leader or co-leader with Liv. Finn is not going to be a part of that equation. Finn is going to be out on his own. It's probably for the better for Finn, because he needs to be on his own and do certain things. And I'm going to be sad at the split. And I did put out that video where I went over some things with Finn and Dom, and I was able to use some of my older pictures of them together, because they do have that step-dad, step-son relationship. But it's going to split, and it's not going to be Dom. Dom's not going to get kicked out. That's going to be Finn. Which takes us to Gunther and Damian. What are they doing with Gunther? I've said here many, many times that I am not a Gunther fan. I find him boring, but I think that's just mostly due to how he's been presented. I don't think he should have been the champion right now. I think he should have been champion next year. Another similar type guy is Ilya Dragunov. I love Ilya, and I think it's just more of how he portrays himself. He's more intense, and he can wrestle his ass off just like Gunther, but he just has a lot more personality. Gunther is just I think he's too stoic for me. I think that's what it is. But with Gunther, it's like they're going face with him. And again, if he's going face, this would have been the perfect time to have be opposite of him as our number one contender, just so that can help Gunther transition. I still don't get why Damian's in it. I do and I don't. But again, he did bring up look into my eyes, what did you see? And I'm like, oh, it's the cult of personality. So that's a CM Punk hint there. But notice how quickly after Gunther spotted Damian doing, I don't know, his diary or something like that, signing something, I don't know. Notice how quickly Damian put Gunther down. Why is Damian Superman? Like now he wants to be Superman? After all those title defenses where Damian won nothing clean, now he's Superman? Why are you putting down the champion that way? I was like, I've actually felt bad for Gunther because that's not good for his character presentation. I don't know what they're doing with him, but just Damian just easily handling Gunther that makes no sense. You could at least give Gunther that little, are you going through a self doubt phase like Tony D'Angelo did in NXT? But even Tony had a lot more built up of his self doubt than Gunther. Y'all are making, this is it, preferential booking. You're making Damian too strong. You're making Rhea too strong. You're throwing the history out the window just so they have the path of least resistance. You don't want them booed, so you don't get their history. But it messes up everybody else's story because they can't reference any kind of history. Look at how Finn is up in the air. Now, Finn and Dom is the more interesting story, and I put that out in my video. It's on YouTube. I need to put a piece of that on TikTok. But the Finn and Dom is a more interesting story because they actually have history that they can reference. With Finn and Damian, Finn just got obliterated and now he can't even do anything towards Damian anymore. If Finn attacks Damian at Survivor Series, it's gonna feel so out of left field, even though we know he's been stewing about it and wants a rematch. That stewing is just more seems like it's been more for the development of doing the split between Finn and Dom, not any kind of match between Finn and Damian. So all this loss that Finn did to Damian was just to set up the more interesting story of Finn and Dom because Finn couldn't even get that lick back. They did all that and just nerfed the Judgment Day just for the Terror Twins, and now both of them are floundering. There's going to be another, what do I want to say? That's going to be another way where the crowd are not going to really accept Damian. I don't think he's going to get accepted that much in Canada. It's probably going to be Gunther, and they're both Damian and Rhea are going to be hurt crowd wise. So they're gonna. It's not going. People are going to cheer maybe probably for Bianca and all of them, and they'll probably do live, but it's not going to be the reaction they're seeking. The WWE. And so the match between Dom and Carlito and the War Raiders. Now, this match, I already knew that. I found out the outcome of after I did my live, so I was really hoping that Dom had just won just to further irritate Finn, but it what it did. He didn't take the pin, and I still don't like him losing, but at least he didn't take the pin. But what I do like is that Dom is doing more offense. Y'all notice that? He's getting really good offense in now. And that's good. He's not just running and hiding and then barely getting in offense. And I'm really hating that they hide a lot of his offense during the breaks, commercial breaks, because we need to see more offense how he was in the number one contenders match, where he needs to show more and more offense. He can still be a cowardly chicken shit heel, but he needs to show more offense. Hit and run, do a good hit, run, do a good hit, run, but he needs to show that more offense. And then, of course, after Carlito gets pinned, War Raiders get attacked by JD and Finn, who does the coup de grace. Notice how Dom was he was slowly raising his hands there, and still see, look how it split there with JD on Dom's side there. Notice the positioning. They usually do stuff for a reason. And like I said, I think JD is going to be the one that's going to be a catalyst there. He's been already questioning Finn, so he's going to be one that sets up Finn, or at least springs the trap on him. Like Liv and Dom are setting Finn up, and then it's going to be JD setting the trap. I also mentioned the promos between Dakota and Lyra. This is what needed because this is what happens when Rhea had that long ass title reign. And this is what's going to happen when whatever Rhea returns. She has nobody to challenge. Notice that Dakota, at least for right now, and Lyra are faces. Those are challengers for Liv. You need to have face challengers for Liv. You're not building up any, unless there's going to be a trade happening, you're not building up like POC or I don't even think we have any more heels. That's the reason why Liv needs to be still needs to be the champion. Because if Rhea gets the title back, we're back into that same predicament of nobody having any challengers for Rhea, and she's just carrying the belt around. His bloodline. Now we see why Solo was raising Bronson Reed's hand because they're already aligned, and then Seth is probably going to join Roman this Friday. I still think that's ham-fisted. I would rather see Solo and Bronson associate a little bit more prior to Bronson joining with Timu Bloodline. Because it just seems like it's very ham-fisted. Bronson worked with Timu Bloodline. I just needed a little bit more development there. It just feels like they just really forced it so Seth could be on the team. And I'm like, and I still don't really get why they need to do 5-on-5. They could have just did 4-on-4. And I think it would have worked better. I'm happy for Bronson to get this opportunity because he's really good and I like him. But I think it should have been just 4v4 of Roman, Jay, Jimmy, and Sammy versus Solo, Tama, Jacob, and what's that other dude's name? I can't even think of his name. Whatever the other Tama Tonga B or I don't know. I know there's a whole bunch of other ones. But Raw Talk, what were they saying on they were saying on Raw Talk, Carlita got his ice taken by Liv. What else happened with Raw Talk? And of course, I don't have it here. Hold on. See if I can sign into my X account really quick so I can see. But while I'm waiting on that, let me go back up here and see what the questions. Thank you for the likes, Bruno, Black Nova. I did see some of the Raw Talk. Usually it's on Peacock. Rhea's been getting popped for 2 years. Rhea has been getting pops, but they're pops by association. And I say pops by association now, not compared to what she's been getting 2 years ago. She's gonna get a pop. This is my brutality. It's kind of like the Stone Cold Glass Shatter. You're gonna get a pop for that. As I experienced when they were in Austin, is that you're gonna get the pop, but are you going to maintain that level of intensity for the rest of what you're doing match wise or promo wise. Austin, she started getting wooded. So you're gonna get pops, but everybody usually gets some kind of pop unless you're just unless you have the crowd has no interest in you. You're gonna get some type of pop. You have to be somebody that audience really doesn't really care for or don't really know. See, if the crowd doesn't know you, you're not gonna get a pop. But if the crowd actually knows you and associates with you, you're gonna get some sort of pop. It's not gonna be huge, probably like Rhea's, but you're gonna get some kind of pop there. The issue is with Rhea is that her pops are by association. She gets a pop for attacking Dom. She gets a pop by associating with Bianca, Jade, and Naomi. They're putting her in places so she continues to get the pop because her character is screwed up. If her character could stand on her own, then she would at least be mostly on her own. You can still have allies and friends, but she would be operating in a different way than she is now. Raquel is getting no pop. Raquel gets enough of a pop that's not going to be huge, but it's the reaction. I think you're misunderstanding me, Joe, that when I say when it comes to pops, it's pops by association. It's just like with Damian, it's pops by association, but his stuff has been diminishing now. You get a reaction, but it's a path of diminishing returns unless they course correct. Let's see. HP says they're setting it up. Yep. I don't see any more questions there. This was a tape show, so it was disjointed. I'm gonna see what they said on Raw Talk. Oh, with Raw Talk, it was more like Finn gaslighting. I told you to attack the neck. I was like, no, you did not tell Dom to attack the neck. I don't remember that from the show. I need to go back and watch that little promo, but I don't remember Finn saying to attack the neck. He said you might want to get them angry so they would make a mistake. I see you, Finn. You mean something went wrong. One moment. So we all know there's no leaders around here, right? See, Finn is reiterating the no leaders thing. I think everybody else is kind of peeping to it. It looks like people are saying Finn kind of dug his own grave during the Raw Talk episode. They could pour a lot. Finn lives that ice pack from Carlito or something else. So this tape Raw, other than the Rhea return, was news. I'm not sure what they're doing with Braun Breaker and Sheamus. Like, why are you setting up a Intercontinental match during WWE Speed that's on the X? And then we're inserting Ludwig into this? I don't know. They should have just kept that Intercontinental title on Jay. They were just going to do that. I know Jay is tied in with Bloodline, but they should have really did that where you just gave him the title and then took it away from him that quick, just so you could have a reason for him to join the Bloodline. It's one of those ham-fisted things that I really don't like. But other than that, I am hoping that when it goes back to being a live show for this Friday and this coming up Monday, that we get a lot more development. They're going to have the advantage match between Nia and Bianca. Oh. I will say that I am thankful that Dom is away from this women's war games thing right now, because I don't think I would be able to handle Rhea putting her hands on him anymore. She needs to stay away from him, and I hate that he has to physically be away just so he's not in that same vicinity, just so Rhea can attack him. And I know he's doing his own thing now, and that's good too. Rhea Liv needs to do her own thing. Dom needs to do her own thing, and you can associate with together in different other ways. But I'm just glad that Dom is not there, at least for right now, having to deal with Rhea. In the event, hopefully next week is better. We'll probably see Seth join Bloodline Friday. Advantage match. I'm hoping the faces get the advantage match because I really want the heels to win the women's war game match. The women's heels need to win. And I think it needs to be because of a total breakdown on the women's face side. I really want Naomi to turn. I really do, because I think she would do better as a heel. And if they want to throw her in with Bloodline shenanigans, I don't really think they are, but at least I think she needs that heel turn. And there's a dearth of nods. See, SmackDown has the opposite problem when it comes to, they'll have a whole bunch of faces and not enough heels. You have Tiffany, Nia, and Candice, but they need to build up their heel side. Raw needs to build up their face side. In any event, so hopefully next week will be better. We'll see. Then we'll continue to try and drive a wedge into people between Liv and Dom. We'll see. I think things will come to a head around Survivor Series. If not Survivor Series, at least the Raw after that, because I think things need to get moving so we can get to, they'll get them on the past the holidays and then get them on the pass over the Royal Rumble. But that should be it. I'm glad you joined. I'm glad you listened. If you whenever you joined, I'm on the X as WMaven WWE and on YouTube as WriterMaven. So if you want to see later longer videos, that's already on the YouTube, and I'll try to chop that up and post that maybe tomorrow for that little video. That's just mostly about the sins of the stepson visiting the stepfather, because I really think we're heading towards that Dom and Finn feud. I can't wait. I think it'll do wonders for both of them. And it came out of the total mishandling of Finn and Damian. But hopefully we'll get to that. We'll get to that match. We'll get to that split soon. Enjoyed talking with you guys. Bye for now. I'm just saying, and so long. Thanks for tuning in to the Wrestling Receipts podcast. Remember to follow me on the X at WMaven WWE and on TikTok at WriterMaven for more wrestling insights and live reactions every Monday night after Raw. Until next time, I'm just saying.